Hey, everybody. I wanted to take a quick moment here and I want to kind of do a little run through. I'm getting to be a part of a little panel discussion tomorrow, um, tomorrow or Saturday, maybe one of the 2 days. Anyway, doesn't matter. Um, and I want to talk about, do they know it's Christmas versus We Are the World, and why Stars from Hearing Aid is going to always win out as the best song. So, a little background. Um, Do They Know It's Christmas was actually the one that came out first. It was written in 1984 by Bob Geldof of the British punk band Boomtown Rats, and Midge Ure from Ultravox. And it was basically written out of the television reports. It was a response to what the BBC was reporting at that time period. This just awful, awful famine that was going on in over in Ethiopia and in Africa, and it was just uh, you see some of the pictures from some of those reports, and it's just awful. I mean, it's just horrible to see this, and so Bob Geldof decides he wants to do something about this. He wants to raise some money to help those in need. So, um, a contrarian view here. I think if I think if Bob had not been Pink in Pink Floyd The Wall, maybe this might not have happened. You never know. Or he certainly wouldn't have gotten enough response, I think, to it, because I don't think the Boomtown Rats were really that big of a band, but certainly Bob Geldof made a name for himself in Pink Floyd The Wall. So, so we get a lot of the who's who kind of a thing in British pop music. So you have, I mean, my goodness, you get George Michael, you got Paul Young, you've got Bono, you've got Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran. Um, Let me think, who else was singing? Boy George sang on it. And I know there's numerous other singers that I'm forgetting. I know Bananarama was featured in the choir. I think a couple people from Cool in the Gang was in the choir. Um, and so you get this quick song. Basically, I think the closest thing I can really describe it as is a human look at the song, at what's going on in the world. Um, and I think that's very evident in the line that Bono sings rather reluctantly, from what I remember hearing. Thank God tonight it's them instead of you. And I think that's just a typical human way of how we look at uh, when others are struggling or others are not as fortunate. Um, I think that was just I think that was just a human reaction. We don't know why we are placed where we are, why we live where we live, why we're in the time period we're living in. We don't know that. Um, but we're we're given what we've got and we make the best of what we can do with it. So, um, so the recording comes together. Song does very well around the world. Reached number one in about 13 different countries. Oddly enough, it didn't make the top 10 in the Billboard Top 100 US charts due to lack of airplay. Yeah, go figure that one out, right? So it does really well, big business. Of course, Americans, they don't want to be outdone. So of course they feel like, hey, we got to get involved. And so they do. Basically kind of starts off, um, kind of Harry Belafonte had something to do with it. He began to think about an American benefit for that, and he started a little fundraiser. Lionel Richie got involved. Michael Jackson then got involved. Of course, Quincy Jones produced and conducts the choir. So you get this, which was recorded in March of '85. And here again, you have a hodgepodge. You have a who's who of American pop music. You've got, I mean, of course, you got Lionel Richie, you got Michael Jackson, you got Ray Charles, you got Huey Lewis, you got Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, um, Cyndi Lauper, Paul Simon, I believe, was in there. Um, I know there's probably many more, many more that I'm forget. Steve Perry. Um, so you get a lot of these different people doing guest vocals. Stevie Wonder, all these different people doing guest, vocal spots, and then you have the big choir, which you have all these again, a whole list of people. Bette Midler was in there, and um, the rest of the Huey Lewis and the News Band, I believe, were all in there. You got all these things, and then you even have Dan Aykroyd. What's he doing there? I don't know. What the heck's he doing there? Anyway, so you have this. Here again, song does big business. Then of course that leads to them doing Live Aid. You have that big concert event that takes place both on Britain and on in Philadelphia, and many parts of the world feature little snippets here and there. The British version starts off with Status Quo, who also was asked to participate in Do They Know It's Christmas? They wanted him to, Bob Geldof wanted them to, Francis Rossi and Rick Parfit to sing the line, here's to you, raise a glass for everyone. Well, as typical of Status Quo, apparently they were a little too snoggered to be able to get in front of the mic, and also apparently was also said it was a little too high for them to be able to hit that in the key that it was in. So unfortunately, they were not able to participate, but they did start off the show in Britain. So we do have that. But so you have this great show of Live Aid, and you have all these different artists doing these little 10, 15-minute sets. And so, but for the most part, there's like one thing really missing from both Do They Know It's Christmas and from We Are the World. Where's the hard rock heavy metal community? How comes they weren't asked to participate? You look at it, at We Are the World, with them just rambling on with that chorus for 4 minutes or whatever it was. You at least could have had maybe Steve Lukather get in there and do a little solo or something, for crying out loud. But where was the hard rock heavy metal participation? Was very minimal because they weren't asked to be a part of it. It was all the pop world. So Ronnie James Dio decides he wants to get involved with it. And so in May of 1985, they lay a track down called Stars. It's pretty much the Dio band. Frankie Banali also is on drums with this. And then he recruits a bunch of different singers. You got Rob Halford, you got Jeff Tate, Paul Shortino, Don Dokken, of course, Ryan James Dio himself, Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult. Trying to think who else did lead vocals. I think Kevin Dubrow was on it from Quiet Riot. I can't think of, that's pretty much all I can think of off the top of my head. Anyway, actually, let me go back to We Are the World. There's one thing I forgot to mention. So We Are the World comes across as, hey, we're all these big stars, but we want you to give your money to help this cause, which I'm sure a lot of these artists probably did. But, a lot of these guys were like some big money making artists at the time. They probably could have contributed a heck of a lot more than what they did. But They wanted you to be the ones to contribute. So you have that. Basically, We Are the World comes across as a schmaltzy ripoff. Anyway, that's just kind of how a friend of mine put it. And I kind of agree. But anyway, going back to Stars. So Stars, Hearing Aid was the name of the band that they amassed. And you had all these different people, a couple guys, you had Blackie and Chris from Wasp. Ted Nugent was in the choir. Motley, Vince Neil and uh, 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 Rough Cut, other guys in Rough Cut. Even Harry Shearer and Michael McKean as their characters in Spinal Tap was in this thing. I'm like, wow. Again, go figure. But they were all in the choir, so you can't actually hear their voices. But the heavy metal, they finally get to do their thing, and I think it's kind of the realistic view. Singers and songs can't change it alone, as the song says. We all have to band together. We all have to come together as a big family to help this awful thing called famine that was happening in Ethiopia. So now contractually, the Hearing Aid didn't get to come out until I believe it was in January, like right around the beginning of the year of 1986. So that was a delay, but just a lot of contractual stuff. Oh no, I take that back. May of '86. So it was almost a year later it finally comes out. Of course, you have all the heavy metal, hard rock bombacity of it. You have a 3-minute, instead of the singers in We Are the World going on for 5 or 10 minutes, you have a 3-minute guitar solo with all these great guitar players: Yngwie Malmsteen, George Lynch, Carlos Cavazo, Brad Gillis, Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult, of course Vivian Campbell, Greg Goldie, Eddie Ojeda from Twisted Sister. Again, I'm probably missing a couple players, but anyway, you get this 7.5 minute long epic. But again, I think that gives the heavy metal community something they can finally get a participant. Lyrically, which do I feel is the better song? I'm probably going to be really biased here and say Stars, only because I really truly believe all of us we all dream about magic. We all dream about, there's many things we all dream about getting to do, and these poor kids in Ethiopia at the time, their dreams were probably more nightmares. So the idea that you could, we're still human though, and we want to help eradicate this thing. So they wanted to pull everybody together. I think Do They Know It's Christmas? I think while it is a good song, again, I think it just I think it's a little bit of a selfish view. But I think again, that ends part of the song. It's just a nice 3-4 minute song, and you didn't need to have a long crazy thing with it. But I think this message, feed the world, let them know it's Christmas time, because a lot of these people, they probably didn't know what time of day it was, let alone whether it was December 25th or May 4th. It wasn't going to matter to them. They were hungry. They were hurting. So they let them know it was Christmas time. So I think in that respect, I think lyrically, I think that song was probably the better. As far as We Are the World, I really do agree with a friend of mine. I really do believe it's just a schmaltzy ripoff. It's just lyrically, it's just corny. Bob Geldof, of course, co-author of Do They Know It's Christmas, said in an interview in 2010 that he was responsible for the 2 of the worst songs ever written, and We Are the World was the other one. So you could get the idea of what he thinks now of that song. But I think the message was that he wanted to raise the awareness around the world and raised money, which I know there's a lot of controversy as to whether the money ever made it to Ethiopia. It seems like, between what they did um, for uh, Band Aid, uh, USA for Africa, and even probably Hearing Aid, and for what happened in Live Aid, I think a lot of that money just got hung up. It never made it to, never made it to the proper channels. So I don't know. I'd have to do more research about that, but that's my take on these three songs. So, what do you think? Tell me. I'd love to hear what you think about these three songs. Hopefully, you have enjoyed listening to me talk about these songs. And this is me coming at you live from my music corner. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Give me a comment.